"If you dance this tango, I'll give you my salary." They wanted to laugh at her, but the cleaner was a professional. Olivia Parker was discreetly cleaning up the last remnants of the gala in the main hall of the Bellevue Plaza Hotel when she felt all eyes turned to her. Businessman Bradley Thompson, known for his arrogance and inherited fortune, had decided she would be the evening's entertainment. "If you dance this tango with me to the end, I'll give you my monthly salary," he proclaimed loudly, making his two companions, Jessica and Ashley, start to laugh mockingly. Olivia stopped cleaning and looked at the man in the impeccable black suit. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the cleaning cloth. She knew she shouldn't accept that this was just another humiliation from the bored rich, but something in her chest rebelled against the situation. "How much do you make a month?" asked Olivia, surprising everyone with her direct response. Bradley laughed even louder, adjusting his bow tie. $300,000, dear, more than you'll ever see in your entire life." The two women in red dresses approached, one a long-haired blonde and the other a brunette, both with malicious smiles on their lips. Jessica whispered something in Ashley's ear, who let out a giggle. "She probably doesn't even know what a proper tango is," commented Jessica. "She'll probably step on his feet," added Ashley. Olivia felt her face heat up. Those women had no idea what they were talking about. She took a deep breath, thinking of the years she had spent away from the stage, hidden behind cleaning uniforms and invisible jobs. "I accept," she said finally, taking off the rubber gloves. The entire hall stopped. The few guests still remaining from the party approached, forming a small circle. The hotel manager, Mr. Harrison, tried to intervene. "Olivia, you don't have to do this. Go back to work." "No, I want to do it," she replied, looking directly into Bradley's eyes. "But there's one condition." "What condition?" asked the businessman, amused. "If I can dance better than you donate all that money to the Northside Children's Shelter." Bradley guffawed. "Deal. This will be easier than taking candy from a baby." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Mrs. Evelyn, a 68-year-old lady who had worked at the hotel reception for over 20 years, watched everything from afar. Something about that young cleaner had caught her attention since the first day Olivia started working there 6 months ago. There was something in her movements, in the way she carried herself, that didn't match an uneducated person. The orchestra, which was packing up their instruments, stopped when they heard about the challenge. The conductor, Miguel Gonzalez, an Argentine who had lived in the United States for 15 years, smiled discreetly. He had spent his entire life playing tangos in nightclubs and elegant halls. "Maestro, can you play a tango for us?" asked Bradley, with a tone of superiority. Miguel nodded and signaled to his musicians. Olivia closed her eyes for a moment when she heard the first chords. It was Por una cabeza, a song she knew very well, perhaps too well. Bradley extended his hand to her with a mocking smile. Olivia hesitated for a second before accepting. Her hands were calloused from work, different from the soft hands of the wealthy women who frequented that place. "Ready to be embarrassed?" whispered Bradley in her ear. "Ready to surprise you," replied Olivia with a firmness he didn't expect. The music began slowly, like any good tango. Bradley tried to take the lead immediately, but Olivia remained rigid, making it clear it wouldn't be easy to lead her. He pulled with more force, making her deliberately stumble in the first steps. The laughter echoed through the hall. Jessica and Ashley clapped, as if they were watching a circus show. Olivia felt the humiliation burn in her cheeks, but she didn't give up. It was then that the music gained intensity, and something completely changed. Olivia let her body relax and subtly began to guide the movements. Bradley noticed the change, but thought it was just beginner's luck. He didn't imagine that she was testing his level, understanding his limitations before really starting to dance. "You're better than I expected," admitted Bradley, attempting a more elaborate spin. Olivia followed perfectly, but noticed he had only basic knowledge. She began to speed up the rhythm, adding small details that only someone who truly understood tango would notice. Mrs. Evelyn moved closer to the circle. There was something familiar in that young woman's movements. The way she arched her back, how she positioned her feet, how she kept her head held high even while being led. They were movements she had seen before, somewhere else, a long time ago. Carlos, the band leader, also began to notice. He slightly increased the tempo of the music, testing the dancers. Bradley began to sweat, trying to keep up, but Olivia followed without apparent effort. "You've danced before," observed Bradley, trying to disguise that he was getting out of breath. "Everyone has danced sometime in their life," replied Olivia, executing a perfect hook that made the businessman stumble slightly. Jessica and Ashley stopped laughing. It was becoming obvious that the cleaning lady wasn't just a lucky amateur. Her movements had a technical precision that only comes with years of practice. The music reached a more dramatic part. Olivia took advantage and executed a sequence of ochos that left everyone speechless. Her feet moved with an elegance that completely contrasted with the light blue uniform she wore. Bradley tried to keep up, but he was clearly lost. Olivia had to hold his hand more firmly to prevent him from completely losing the beat. The man who had started the dance wanting to humiliate her now depended on her to avoid embarrassment. "You're leading me," whispered Bradley, realizing he had lost control of the situation. "I'm helping," Olivia replied diplomatically. Mrs. Evelyn moved even closer. Now she was sure. Those movements, that posture, that specific way of executing the steps, she knew all of that. Her heart raced when a distant memory came to the surface. Band leader Carlos was also restless. He stopped looking at Bradley and focused all his attention on Olivia. There was something about the way she danced that bothered him, in a good way. It was as if she was holding something back, dancing only a fraction of what she really knew. Olivia realized she was attracting too much attention. She tried to reduce the intensity, went back to the basic steps, let Bradley take the lead again. But it was too late. The people around weren't blind. A violinist from the orchestra, Ethan Williams, a 50-year-old man who had played tango for over 30 years, stopped putting away his instrument. He stared intently at Olivia and whispered something inaudible. His hands trembled when he recognized not just the technique, but the dancer's specific style. The music was coming to an end. Bradley, sweating and clearly exhausted, tried to make a final dramatic move to save face. He attempted a dip, but misjudged the distance and almost let Olivia fall. She reacted instinctively, using all her experience to transform the clumsy movement into something elegant. With a strength that surprised everyone, she held Bradley and guided him back to balance, finishing the dance with a perfect pose. The silence was total for a few seconds. Then slowly the applause began. First timid, then more intense, until the entire ballroom was giving a standing ovation to the performance. Bradley was red, partly from the effort, partly from the shame. He had been completely outdone by a cleaning lady in front of everyone. His image as a powerful and superior man had been destroyed in just a few minutes. You are not an ordinary cleaning lady," he said, still breathless. Olivia did not reply. She simply gave a polite bow and began to walk away, but Mrs. Evelyn intercepted her. "Wait," said the lady, her voice trembling. "I need to speak with you." Olivia stopped, feeling a chill in her stomach. She knew she had exposed herself too much, revealed more than she should have. Now she would have to deal with the consequences. "Your name, your real name isn't Olivia Parker, is it?" asked Mrs. Evelyn, with tears in her eyes. The ballroom fell silent again. Everyone wanted to hear the answer. Olivia looked at the lady for a long moment, as if deciding whether to keep lying or finally tell the truth. "My name is Olivia Parker," she replied, but her voice carried a weight that indicated there was much more story behind those words. Bradley took an envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket and held it out to Olivia, fulfilling his part of the agreement. But instead of gratitude, she looked at him with an expression that mixed sadness and determination. "I don't want your money," she said. "You can donate it directly to the shelter as we agreed." "But you won. The money is rightfully yours." "I didn't dance for the money. I danced because you thought you could humiliate me, and I needed to show you were wrong." Jessica and Ashley exchanged glances, embarrassed. They realized they had taken part in something that had spiraled completely out of control and now felt small in the face of the dignity of the woman they had tried to ridicule. The conductor Miguel approached, carrying his violin. "May I ask a question?" he said with a heavy Argentine accent. "Where did you learn to dance like that?" Olivia hesitated. It was the question she feared most, but knew would come one way or another. "I'd learned a long time ago. Somewhere else." "Where else?" insisted Mrs. Evelyn. "Because I am almost certain I recognize you." Olivia felt her legs weaken. She discreetly leaned on the nearest table, trying to buy time to decide what to do. Part of her wanted to run out of there and never come back. Another part was tired of lying, of hiding who she really was. Ethan Williams, the violinist, also approached. "I have played for many dancers throughout my career," he said slowly. "But your style, the way you execute the hooks, how you distribute your body weight, it reminds me of someone very specific." "Who?" asked Bradley, who, despite the humiliation, was genuinely curious. Ethan looked at Olivia before answering. "A dancer who disappeared 6 years ago. She was considered one of the greatest talents of the new generation of American tango. She was only 24 when she stopped competing." Olivia closed her eyes. She knew she couldn't run anymore. "Why did she stop?" asked Jessica, now with genuine interest instead of malice. "No one knows. She just vanished, cancelled all her performances, abandoned competitions, was never seen in the dance halls again." Mrs. Evelyn moved closer to Olivia. "I worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy family in Manhattan Beach about 8 years ago," she said softly. "They had a daughter who took dance lessons. I always took the girl to rehearsals and competitions. That's where I saw a young dancer who left a mark on my life. She had the exact same movements as you." Olivia opened her eyes slowly. "What was her name?" asked Bradley. "Olivia Morris," answered Mrs. Evelyn. "She was known as the New York Rose because of the way she danced. She had a talent. It was as if she was born for it." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Olivia felt there was no way out. The memories she had tried to bury for so long came back like an avalanche. The elegant ballrooms, the competitions, the applause, the trophies. And then, the devastating emptiness that made her abandon everything. "I'm not that person anymore," she finally said, her voice choked. "Why not?" asked Miguel gently. "What happened?" Olivia looked around. All those people waiting for an answer, curious about a life she had left behind. She realized that maybe it was time to stop running. "I had a dance partner," she began, sitting in one of the nearby chairs. "Nathan Miller. We had danced together for 5 years. We were very close." "Close how?" asked Ashley, who was now listening with respectful attention. "We were engaged and professional dance partners. We had just won the South American Tango Championship. We were preparing for the World Championship when..." Olivia stopped, took a deep breath, and continued. "Nathan was in a car accident. He was coming back from a meeting with sponsors. A drunk driver..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Tears began to roll down her face. Mrs. Evelyn sat beside her and held her hand. She started to ask, but Olivia shook her head. "He survived. But he was left paraplegic. He could never dance again." The silence in the hall was deafening. Everyone immediately understood why Olivia had abandoned her career. "I couldn't dance anymore, knowing he never could," she continued. "Every time I stepped into a ballroom, I saw his face. I saw what we had lost together." Bradley, who had been arrogant the whole time, felt extremely small. He realized he had tried to humiliate a person who had already been through much more suffering than he could imagine. "What happened to the two of you?" asked Ethan softly. "Nathan tried to convince me to continue. He said I couldn't abandon my dream because of him, but I couldn't. The guilt was too great." "Guilt?" asked Miguel. "But the accident wasn't your fault." "It was. I had asked him to pick up the contracts that night. If I hadn't asked, he would have been home, safe." Olivia wiped her tears with the back of her hand. We broke off the engagement 6 months after the accident. He said he couldn't bear to see me suffering because of him, and I ran away. I changed my name, I changed cities, I started a new life far away from everything that reminded me of dance. How long has it been since you've seen him? Asked Mrs. Evelyn. 6 years. And how long has it been since you've danced? Asked Miguel. Today was the first time since the accident. Bradley slowly approached. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I had no right to put you in that situation. Olivia looked at him in surprise. It was the first time she saw sincerity in his eyes. You couldn't have known. No one could. But even so, what I did was wrong. Trying to humiliate someone is never right. Jessica and Ashley approached too. We also apologize, said Jessica. We were cruel for no reason. You're young, replied Olivia. You'll still learn that everyone has a story you don't know. Maestro Miguel picked up his violin and began tuning the strings. Can I ask you a favor? He said. It depends on what it is. Dance one more time. Not to prove anything to anyone. Not to make money. Dance for yourself. Dance to remember who you really are. Olivia shook her head. I can't. I just can't. Of course you can, said Mrs. Evelyn. You just showed us you can. But you don't understand. When I dance, I feel like I'm betraying Nathan's memory, like I'm moving forward while he got left behind. Ethan Williams approached. Can I share something? I knew Nathan. Olivia quickly lifted her head. You did. I played violin at his sister's wedding about 3 years ago. We talked about music, about dance. He told me about you. What did he say? He said you were the purest talent he'd ever seen, and that the greatest tragedy of his life wasn't losing the use of his legs, but being the reason you lost the movement of your soul. Olivia felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. He said that? He did, and more. He said if he could find you, he'd ask forgiveness for letting you carry guilt that was never yours to bear. Tears returned to Olivia's eyes, but this time they were different. There was a mixture of pain and relief she hadn't felt in years. Where is he now, she asked. Teaching dance to people with disabilities. He created a special school, teaches adapted tango for wheelchairs and people with other limitations. Olivia fell silent for a long moment, processing this information. He's still dancing? In a different way, but yes. And from everything he told me at that wedding, I'm certain he'd want to know you've returned to dancing too. Miguel began playing a soft melody on his violin. It wasn't a tango, but a slower, more reflective piece. Olivia, he said, when you danced today, it was like part of your heart woke up after a long sleep. Don't waste that. Olivia slowly stood up. She looked around at all these people who had started the evening as strangers, and now seemed to understand her story better than many she'd known for years. If I dance one more time, she said, it won't be for you. It will be for me, to remember who I used to be. That's all we're asking, replied Mrs. Evelyn. Olivia walked to the center of the hall. Miguel signaled to the other musicians, who picked up their instruments again. This time, they chose a softer, more emotional tango. Olivia closed her eyes and began to move alone. There was no partner this time, just her and the music. It was a different dance, more intimate, more personal. Her arms moved as if embracing a memory. Her feet found the rhythm naturally, as if they'd never stopped dancing. Each step carried 6 years of longing, regret, lost love, and wasted talent. As the music progressed, Olivia allowed herself to feel everything she had repressed. The pain of the accident, the guilt she carried, but also the joy dance had always brought her. It was like reconnecting with a fundamental part of herself. When the music ended, there were no immediate applause. The silence was respectful, almost reverent. Everyone understood they had witnessed something much deeper than a simple performance. Olivia opened her eyes and saw tears on several faces around her. She realized her own face was also wet. "Thank you," she said simply. Bradley approached again, but this time with genuine humility. "Olivia, I'd like to do something to make up for what I did today. Can I pay for dance lessons for you or help in some way?" "I don't need lessons," she replied with a sad smile. "But maybe I need courage." "Courage for what?" "To look for Nathan, to talk to him, to try to understand if there's still a place for me in the world of dance. Mrs. Evelyn approached. "I have his school's phone number," she said, "if you want it." Olivia remained silent for a moment. "Can you give it to me? But I won't promise I'll call." "You don't need to promise anything, just have it." Mrs. Evelyn wrote the number on a piece of paper and handed it to Olivia. "One last thing," said Miguel. "The hotel has a smaller hall in the back where we sometimes hold rehearsals. If you want to practice, no pressure, no audience, it's always available." "Why are you all being so kind to me?" asked Olivia. "Because today you taught us something important," replied Bradley. "You taught us that we never know a person's full story. And that true talent never dies, it just lies dormant." Olivia smiled for the first time since the evening had begun. "I'll think about all of this, but now I need to go home. It's been too intense of a night." "Will you keep working here?" asked Mrs. Evelyn. "For now, yes, I need the job, and who knows, maybe I need some time to process everything that happened today." Olivia put the paper with the phone number in her uniform pocket and headed toward the exit of the hall. Before leaving, she turned around one last time. "Thank you for reminding me of who I used to be. Now I need to figure out who I want to become." She left, leaving behind a group of people who had been deeply moved by her story. Bradley stood still in the middle of the hall, reflecting on how an act of arrogance had turned into a lesson in humility. "I feel like a fool," he said to Jessica and Ashley. "We all do," replied Jessica, "but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we need to feel foolish every now and then to remember to be better." Miguel slowly put away his violin. "In 40 years of playing tango, I've never seen anything like that," he commented. "It was like watching a soul being reborn." Mrs. Evelyn kept looking at the door through which Olivia had exited. "I hope she finds the courage to call Nathan," she said. "Some stories deserve a better ending." In the following days, Olivia continued working at the hotel as if nothing had happened, but several people noticed small changes in her. She walked differently, with more natural grace. Sometimes she was caught humming tango melodies while cleaning. Mrs. Evelyn tried to talk to her a few times about that night, but Olivia always politely changed the subject. It was obvious she was still processing everything that had happened. A week after the incident, Bradley returned to the hotel. He looked for Olivia and found her cleaning the same hall where everything had taken place. "Olivia, can I talk to you?" She stopped what she was doing and looked at him cautiously. "What do you want?" "I made the donation to the children's shelter, as promised. But it wasn't just the 300,000. I donated 1 million. Olivia looked at him surprised. "Why?" "Because you made me realize I've been using my money selfishly, that I've been trying to buy respect instead of earning it." "And what do you want from me?" "Nothing. I just wanted you to know. And I wanted to ask if you've called Nathan yet." Olivia sighed. "Not yet. I've picked up the phone several times, but I couldn't dial." "Why not?" "Because I'm afraid of the answer. I'm afraid to find out he's moved on and doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. Or I'm afraid to find out he's still suffering because of me." Bradley sat in one of the nearby chairs. "Can I tell you something about myself?" Olivia stopped cleaning and paid attention. "I have a daughter. She's 15 and lives with her mother. I hardly ever see her because I'm an absent father, always focused on work and looking important. And what does that have to do with me? That night when you danced, I realized my daughter probably has talents and dreams I don't even know about, because I've never stopped to really look at her, to talk to her. You can change that. I can, and I will. But the point is, you have a second chance with Nathan. Don't waste it out of fear. Regret is worse than rejection." Olivia fell silent, reflecting on his words. "How do you know Nathan wants to see me?" "I don't know, but I know if you don't try, you'll never find out." That night, Olivia returned to her small apartment on the north side of New York. She had lived alone since arriving in the city 6 years ago. The place was simple but cozy. There were no photos or mementos from her dancing days. She picked up the paper with Nathan's number and stared at it for a long time. Her hands trembled as she finally dialed the number. The phone rang 3 times before someone answered. "Nathan Miller Adaptive Dance School, good evening." It was his voice, more mature but still the same voice she had heard in her dreams for 6 years. Olivia was speechless. She couldn't utter a word. "Hello?" Nathan repeated. "Is anyone there?" "Nathan," she finally whispered. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Olivia heard his breathing change, becoming faster. "Olivia," he said, incredulous. "Is it you? It's me. My God." "Olivia, where are you? I looked for you for years. I'm in New York, working, living a simple life. Are you all right?" "I'm surviving." "Olivia, I need to see you, please. We need to talk." "Nathan, please, just a conversation. There are so many things I need to tell you." Olivia took a deep breath. "Where do you want to meet? Do you know Miami Beach? There's a cafe on the corner of Fifth Avenue and Ocean Drive. Can we meet there tomorrow afternoon?" "All right. What time?" 3 o'clock. I'll be there." "Olivia, thank you for calling. You have no idea how much I've hoped for this." She hung up the phone and sat on the sofa, trembling. After 6 years of running from the past, she was finally going to face it. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The next day, Olivia left work early. She had asked for time off from Mrs. Evelyn, who understood immediately when she learned Olivia was finally going to meet Nathan. Olivia chose a simple outfit, a white blouse and jeans, nothing that reminded her of the dancer Olivia of the past. She arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early and chose a table where she could see the entrance. At 3 o'clock sharp, she saw him enter. Nathan was in a wheelchair, as she expected, but there was something different about him. He seemed at peace. His hair was shorter. He had a few wrinkles around his eyes, but his smile was the same. When he saw her, his eyes filled with tears. He slowly approached the table. "You look the same," he said. 6 years, and you haven't changed a bit." "I have. I've changed a lot on the inside." Nathan positioned himself facing her at the table. "Olivia, before anything else, I need to ask for your forgiveness." "Forgiveness? But why?" "For letting you carry a guilt that was never yours. For not fighting harder to convince you that the accident wasn't your fault." "Nathan, let me finish. During these 6 years, not a single day has gone by that I haven't thought of you, that I haven't regretted letting you go. I should have fought harder for us." Olivia felt the tears beginning to well up. "You couldn't have done anything. I was the one too stubborn to listen. I managed to rebuild my life, Olivia. I started a school. I teach dance to people who, like me, had to adapt to new realities. But one piece was always missing." "What piece?" "You. You were always missing." Olivia couldn't hold back the tears. "I thought you would hate me. I thought you would blame me for the accident." "Blame you?" "Olivia, you were the best thing that ever happened to my life. Dancing with you was like touching the sky. But now you can't anymore." "Yes, I can. Different, but I can. Do you want to see?" Nathan signaled to the waiter and asked him to play some music. When a soft tango began to play, he moved closer to Olivia and extended his hand. "Dance with me." "Nathan, we can't dance here." "Of course we can. Not like before, but we can." Olivia hesitated, but took his hand. Nathan gently pulled her and she stood up. He kept one of her hands and with the other guided the movements of the chair. It was a completely different dance than what they did before, but it was still dancing. Olivia moved around the chair, following his rhythm and guidance. It was slower, softer, but beautiful in its own way. The people in the cafe stopped to watch. It wasn't a show, it was something intimate and moving. It was proof that the love for dance transcends any physical limitation. When the music ended, both were openly crying. "You see," said Nathan, "we can still dance, it just has to be different." "Nathan, I missed you every day for 6 years." "Then why did you leave?" "Because I thought it was best for you. I thought you could move on without having to see me suffer for not being able to dance." "But you can dance. You just proved it." "Not in the same way." "So what?" "I can't walk the same way as before, but I can still move." You can't dance the same way as before, but you can still feel the music in your soul. Olivia sat down again, trying to process everything that was happening. Nathan, I don't know if I can go back to that world. I'm scared. You don't have to go back to that world. We can create a new one, a better one. How? You can work with me at the school, teach people who have been through trauma, who have lost confidence, who need to rediscover that they can still be happy through dance. Olivia was silent for a moment. I'm not the same person you knew. Neither am I, but maybe we can find out together who we've become. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? Olivia, we've lost 6 years. I don't want to waste any more time. Olivia looked at Nathan, seeing in him the same determination that had made her fall in love years ago. But now there was something more, a wisdom that comes from overcoming pain. I need to think. How much time do you need? A few days. To sort out my thoughts, to talk to the people at the hotel. Okay, but Olivia, can I ask you a favor? What? Don't disappear again. If you decide you don't want to try, tell me in person. Don't leave me in the void again. I promise. Nathan took a card from his pocket and handed it to her. This is the address of the school. If you want to see it, you can stop by any day. You don't need to make an appointment. Olivia took the card and put it in her purse. Nathan, are you happy? I am. Not in the way I imagined I would be, but I am. And you? I'm learning to be. They talked for another 2 hours, catching up on the last 6 years. Nathan told her about how he had created the school, about the students he had helped, about how he had found a new purpose in life. Olivia told him about the jobs she had done, about how she had learned to live simply, about how she had tried to forget dance but never completely could. When they finally said goodbye, Nathan held her hand one more time. Olivia, regardless of your decision, I want you to know that I never blamed you for anything. The accident wasn't your fault, and you abandoning dance wasn't either. You did what you thought was best at the time. Thank you for saying that. And one more thing, you are still the most talented dancer I have ever known. No one can take that away from you. Olivia returned home with her head full of thoughts. She looked around her small apartment and realized how limited her life had become. Not that it was bad, but it was incomplete. That night, she called Mrs. Evelyn. Mrs. Evelyn, can I ask you a question? Of course, dear. Do you think people can really change? Start over? Olivia, I'm 68 years old. If I've learned anything in life, it's that it's never too late to start again. Why are you asking this? I ran into Nathan today. And how was it? Confusing, exciting, painful, hopeful, all at the same time. Does he want you back? He wants me to work with him at the dance school, teaching people with disabilities or trauma. And do you want to? I think so, but I'm scared. Scared of what? Scared of not being good enough anymore. Scared of disappointing people. Scared of disappointing myself. Olivia, can I tell you something? When you danced that night at the hotel, it wasn't technique that moved us. It was your soul. And soul isn't lost with time. Do you think I should try? I think you should stop living in the past and start building a future. The next day, Olivia went to work as usual, but she couldn't concentrate. She kept thinking about the conversation with Nathan, about the possibilities opening up before her. During her lunch break, she decided to take a walk. Without realizing it, her steps led her to the address on Nathan's card. The school operated in an adapted ground floor building with ramps and wide doors. Through the windows, she could see people dancing. There was an elderly gentleman in a wheelchair dancing with a lady who used a cane. A young man with only one arm danced alone, moving with grace and joy. Olivia watched for a few minutes, moved by what she saw. The dance there wasn't about technical perfection or competition. It was about overcoming joy, human connection. Can I help you? Olivia turned and saw a young woman, around 25 years old, who wore prosthetics on both legs. I was just looking. Would you like to come in? We're having an open class today. No, I don't. Come on, it can't hurt. My name is Samantha. I'm one of the teachers here. Olivia hesitated but ended up following Samantha inside the building. The environment was welcoming, with mirrors on the walls and a floor suitable for dancing. Nathan was in the center of the hall, instructing a couple. When he saw Olivia, his face lit up. "Olivia, you came." I was just passing by." "That's great. Would you like to see the school?" Olivia nodded timidly. Nathan introduced her to some students and teachers. Each person had a story of overcoming, but all shared a love for dance. "Professor Nathan," said a girl of about 12 who was visually impaired, "is the lady going to teach us?" Nathan looked at Olivia, who blushed. "I'm not a teacher," Olivia replied. "But the professor said, you're a very good dancer," the girl insisted. "I was. A long time ago." "But you don't forget how to dance, right? It's like riding a bike." The girl's innocence touched Olivia deeply. She knelt to be at the child's height. "What's your name?" "Emma. I love to dance, even though I can't see the steps. Professor Nathan teaches me to feel the music with my whole body." "And you like it?" "I love it. When I dance, I feel free, like I can fly." Olivia looked at Nathan, who watched the interaction with a smile. "Emma, would you like me to dance with you?" "Really? You would do that?" "Of course." Nathan put on some soft music. Olivia gently held Emma's hands and began to guide her in simple steps. The girl followed perfectly, smiling from ear to ear. As the music progressed, Olivia began to feel more comfortable. She realized that dancing with Emma was different from any experience she had had before. It wasn't about technique or performance. It was about connection, about sharing joy. When the music ended, everyone present applauded. Emma hugged Olivia tightly. "Thank you. You dance like an angel." Olivia felt tears coming to her eyes again. She looked around and saw genuine smiles, people who had found in dance a way to overcome their limitations. "Nathan," she said, "can I speak with you in private?" They went out to a small garden in the back of the school. "What did you think?" asked Nathan. "It's beautiful. You're doing wonderful work here. We could do even better with you on the team." Olivia took a deep breath. "I want to try, but with some conditions." "Which ones?" "I'll start slowly, maybe helping just once or twice a week until I feel more secure." "Perfect. And I don't want to talk about my past with the students, at least not yet." "Understood." "And Nathan, we need to go slow too, as people. A lot has changed in 6 years." Nathan smiled. "Olivia, I waited 6 years. I can wait as long as necessary." "Then it's decided. I'll start next week." "Really?" "Really." Nathan wanted to hug her, but held back, respecting her request to take things slow. "Olivia, can I ask you one more question?" "Go ahead." "Do you still love me?" Olivia was silent for a moment. "I never stopped loving you, Nathan, but I needed to learn to live without you. And now I need to learn to live with you again. That's all I need to know." Olivia returned to the hotel with a feeling she hadn't had in years: hope. She looked for Mrs. Evelyn to tell her about her decision. "I'm going to leave the hotel," she said. "To work at the dance school?" "Yes, but I wanted to thank you for everything. You were more than a co-worker. You were a friend when I needed it most." "Olivia, do you think I could visit that school someday?" "Why?" "Because I always wanted to learn to dance, and now that I'm in the last years of my active life, I thought maybe it was time." Olivia smiled. "Of course, you'll love it." At the end of the week, Olivia worked her last day at the hotel. Bradley appeared to say goodbye. "I heard you're going to work at a dance school," he said. "I am. Thank you for that night. If you hadn't challenged me, maybe I never would have rediscovered who I am. Sometimes bad things happen to lead us to better places." "Yes, sometimes." "Olivia, can I ask you a favor?" "What favor?" "My daughter. She's 15 and has been very rebellious. She doesn't want to talk to me, always stays locked in her room. Do you think dance could help her?" "It might. Everyone responds differently, but for many young people, dance is a way to express feelings they can't put into words. Do you think she could take some classes at the school? Of course. Bring her by whenever you want. The following Monday, Olivia officially started working at Nathan's school. She was nervous but determined to do her best. Her first class was with a group of ladies between 50 and 70 years old who had gone through various health problems. Some had had strokes, others heart problems, one had partially lost her hearing. "Good morning, everyone," said Olivia, trying to control her nervousness. "My name is Olivia, and I'm going to help you rediscover the pleasure of moving with music." "Teacher," said a white-haired lady, "I've never danced in my life. I'm afraid of looking foolish." "No one looks foolish here," replied Olivia. "Here, we celebrate every movement, no matter how small." Olivia put on some soft music and began with simple warm-up exercises. Gradually, she introduced dance movements, always respecting each person's limitations. One of the ladies, Mrs. Gladys, had suffered a stroke and had difficulty moving the right side of her body. Olivia worked specifically with her, adapting the movements so she could fully participate. "Teacher," said Mrs. Gladys at the end of class, "2 years ago, I thought I would never be able to move gracefully again. Today, I felt beautiful again." Those words touched Olivia deeply. She realized she had found a new purpose for her dance. It wasn't about being the best or winning competitions. It was about helping people reconnect with their bodies and with the joy of living. In the following weeks, Olivia adapted to the new routine. She taught classes 3 times a week and used the rest of her time to train with Nathan, rediscover her own dance, and study adaptive teaching methods. Nathan gradually brought her back into the professional dance world, but in a completely different way. They began developing specific choreographies for people with different types of disabilities. One day, Bradley showed up at the school with his daughter, Madison. The girl was clearly unhappy to be there. "I don't want to dance," she said, crossing her arms. "That's okay," Olivia replied calmly. "You can just watch today if you want." Madison sat in a corner and watched the class with a pout. Olivia was teaching a group of young people, some with physical disabilities, others who had gone through emotional trauma. As the class progressed, Olivia noticed Madison paying more attention. The girl seemed particularly interested in a young man about 17 years old who was dancing alone with impressive emotional intensity. "Who is that boy?" Madison asked Olivia during the break. "That's Jacob. He came here after losing his mother in an accident. Dance has been helping him process his grief. He dances well. Would you like to meet him?" Madison hesitated but ended up agreeing. Olivia introduced the 2 young people, who began talking about music and dance. At the end of class, Madison approached Olivia. "Teacher, can I come to the next class?" "Of course, but only if you really want to." "I do, and thank you." Bradley, who had watched everything from a distance, approached Olivia. "Thank you. It's the first time in months I've seen my daughter interested in anything. Dance has that power. It connects people." 2 months after starting work at the school, Olivia had a surprise. Mrs. Evelyn showed up for her first dance class. "I said I would come," the lady said, smiling, "and I'm very happy you came." Mrs. Evelyn joined the group of ladies and quickly became one of the most enthusiastic students. She told funny stories during classes and always encouraged her classmates when they felt insecure. One day, after a particularly moving class, Nathan called Olivia to talk. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Happy, fulfilled, complete in a way I haven't felt in years." "What about us?" Olivia smiled. "I think I'm ready for us to try being a couple again, but different from how we were before." "Different how?" "More mature, wiser, more grateful for having a second chance." Nathan held her hand. "Olivia, will you marry me? Again? Are you proposing to me?" "I am. Not in the traditional way I did the first time, but I am." Olivia looked at him, seeing in his eyes the love that had never disappeared, but which was now tempered with experience and wisdom. "Yes, I want to marry you." They kissed right there, in the middle of the school, surrounded by the sounds of students practicing in the hall next door. 6 months later, Olivia and Nathan got married in a simple ceremony at the school itself. The students performed dance presentations, each showing the progress they had made. Emma, the blind girl, danced a special choreography that Olivia had created for her. Mrs. Gladys, who had significantly recovered from her stroke, danced with her husband in an emotional performance. Madison, who had become one of the most dedicated students, presented a contemporary dance that she had choreographed with Jacob, expressing her own experiences and emotions. Mrs. Evelyn was Olivia's matron of honor, and in her speech she said, "I met Olivia when she was lost, hiding behind a cleaning uniform. Today I see a woman who has found her true purpose, using her art to heal others." Bradley, who had become one of the school's main sponsors, also gave a speech. "Olivia taught me that humility isn't about putting yourself down, but recognizing that everyone has value. Nathan taught me that physical limitations don't limit the spirit. Together, they showed me that true wealth lies in making a difference in people's lives." At the end of the ceremony, Olivia and Nathan danced together for the first time since the accident. It was an adapted dance, different from what they used to do, but it was perfect in its own way. As they danced, Olivia thought about how life had come full circle. She had lost everything she thought was important, but she had found something even more valuable, the ability to turn her pain into healing for others. "What are you thinking about?" whispered Nathan. "I'm thinking that sometimes we need to get completely lost to truly find ourselves." "And have you found yourself?" "I have. And I found you. And I found a purpose I didn't even know I was looking for." The music ended, and they were surrounded by students, friends, and family who had become their new chosen family. 3 years later, the school had grown significantly. Olivia had developed her own method of teaching adaptive dance that was being used in other cities across the United States. She had written a book about her experience, which became a reference for professionals working with therapeutic dance. The title was "Dancing with Limitations: How I Found Freedom by Losing Perfection." Nathan had created a teacher training program, and the school now had a waiting list of people wanting to join the classes. Emma, now 15, had become one of the school's most talented young dancers and dreamed of pursuing a professional career. Madison had created a dance group with other teenagers from the school, and they performed in hospitals and nursing homes, bringing joy to those who needed it most. Mrs. Evelyn, at 71, had become the oldest person to participate in an adaptive dance competition in New York. Mrs. Gladys had fully recovered from her stroke and now helped Olivia with the classes, serving as an inspiration for new students. One Sunday afternoon, Olivia was alone at the school, getting things ready for the following week, when she received an unexpected call. "Nathan Miller Adaptive Dance School," she answered. "Olivia, it's Jessica." Olivia was surprised. It was one of the women who had laughed at her that night at the hotel years ago. "Jessica, how did you get my number?" "Through Bradley." "Olivia, I wanted to apologize to you, and I wanted to ask you a favor." "What favor?" "My mother was in a car accident 3 months ago. She's paraplegic and very depressed. The doctors said physical activities could help, but she refuses to do physical therapy." "And you thought dance could help?" "I saw a YouTube video of a performance from your school. The way those people danced, there was so much joy, so much life. I thought maybe my mother could find that too." Olivia smiled. Even after all these years, there were still people being touched by the work they did at the school. "Of course, bring your mother when she feels ready. There's no rush." "Thank you, Olivia. And thank you for teaching me, even unintentionally, that we never know a person's full story." After hanging up, Olivia reflected on how life had created interesting circles. People who were once antagonists in her story were now seeking her help. Nathan arrived at the school and found Olivia lost in thought. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "More than okay. I was thinking about how everything connects, how that terrible night at the hotel ended up leading to all of this." "Do you regret anything?" "The time we lost? Yes. But I don't regret the path we traveled. I think we needed to go through all that to get here." "And are you happy?" "I am complete, which is different from happy, but it's better." Nathan stepped closer and hugged her. "Olivia, Can I tell you a secret? Of course. That night of the accident at the hospital, I was afraid you would stay with me just out of pity. When you left, a part of me was relieved, because I knew that if you came back it would be for love, not out of obligation. And now? Now I know we are true partners, not just in dance, but in life. They stood embracing in the middle of the empty school, listening to the echo of laughter and music that would fill that space again on Monday. Olivia looked around and saw on the walls the pictures of all the people who had passed through the school over the years. Each photo told a story of overcoming, of rediscovery, of joy reclaimed. "Nathan," she said, "do you think dance really has the power to heal people?" "I think dance is just the means. What heals people is the connection, is feeling seen, is discovering that there is still beauty in life even after loss. And is that what we do here? That's what we do here. And that's what we'll keep doing as long as we have the strength." Olivia smiled and stepped back from the hug, but kept her hands intertwined with his. "So, shall we dance?" she asked. "Always," replied Nathan. They began to move slowly, without music, just following the rhythm of their own hearts. It was a silent, intimate, perfect dance. As they danced, Olivia thought of all the people who had touched her life in recent years. Bradley, who had learned humility through arrogance. Jessica and Ashley, who had discovered empathy through cruelty. Mrs. Evelyn, who had found the courage to fulfill dreams in her later years. Emma, who had shown that physical limitations do not limit the soul. Madison, who had discovered in dance a way to express herself and connect with the world. Jacob, who had found in dance a way to honor his mother's memory. Mrs. Gladys, who had proven that it's never too late to start over. And so many other students, each with their own unique story, each contributing to the beautiful and complex mosaic that was the school. The dance ended, but they remained embraced. "Olivia," said Nathan, "thank you for coming back. Thank you for waiting for me." "Always," he repeated. And there, in that moment, Olivia knew she had found not only lost love, but something even more precious. Her true place in the world. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you are watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Olivia made the right decision by returning to Nathan and to dance? We would love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other moving stories.